technology is facing a problem because of the bad connectivity that we have, because we have got the typical like to have a dedicated line, lease line kind of connectivity, so that we can have a full control over the bandwidth and manage the bandwidth properly, who is using what and all those things. So, that's one issue. The second was, as you said, technology. In terms of technology, we need to figure out list of all the equipments. Perhaps we can have a list of all the possible equipments. When you go for wireless deployment, what is the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H of the technology, and then what are the equipments available, who are the manufacturers, what are the cost. Those are the issues that we would like to tackle in this project to have that in place. That's the second big challenge that we are facing. The third big challenge that we are facing is managing the network through the community. It's a challenge, and it's a very serious challenge, because as soon as you talk about coordinates, as soon as you talk about degrees, as you talk about positives and negatives, as soon as you talk about networking technology, what are the basic, very, very basic thing that we need to certainly teach and learn in the community, so that they understand. That's the reason I talked to you that training and creating a brigade of community networkers, community network engineers is very, very important. I would like to have, at least 10 people in Baran to have the full knowledge about this network. At least 6 to 10 people in Chanderi, 5 to 10 people in Tura. In Guna, when we are going to deploy, we would like to have the local community. So the third aspect that we would like to discuss is how to train the community members in terms of taking the ownership of the technology and managing it properly. And the fourth issue is, even though we have provided you many of the documents here, I still feel that we do not have comprehensive documentation on the issue of policy and regulation and the gray areas, gray lines, if security issues, because as soon as you are accessing internet, downloading content and accessing content, and many of those networks are being utilized as a cyber cafe or something, there are so many regulatory issues come in between. There is the issue of cyber cafe, licensing, intermediary, all those issues. And so how do we classify and dissect different topics within the regulation, within the policy, and have a proper documentation on that one?
That's Center for Internet and Society is doing that. The Center for Internet and Society, we have a grant to them, and that's exactly going to do that.
They are doing
this. They're in the process of doing it.
Yeah. So that means
doing what? The regulations?
The regulations. They're going to document them for every aspect of internet provision.
Yeah, so that's good. That's good in the sense that now we don't need to, as a DEF, we don't have to unnecessarily spend money on this to create it. We can take leverage of the one support that you are doing with CIS,
Absolutely.
And we can take advantage of that. Similarly, in terms of training and capacity building, if you are supporting Airjaldi, then we can take the support from them to have them train us. Similarly, if we have a scope in that area to learn from the international experiences, then Nepal Wireless and Steve, you both are there to have the international experience, and what are the wireless regulation in terms of international issues also, because when it comes to internet, it's a world community, it's not only the local community or something. So these are at least 4 areas that those are going to be, is an issue, going to be the issue. Because our target as a Digital Empowerment Foundation, as an organization, one of our vision is to have the Community Information Resource Center in each and every state, and gradually in each and every district. So, and that means all these centers that we are going to have and have already established has to have the hub of this community network. That's our vision. That means there are 35 states in our country, and there are 600 something districts in our country. So we are quite well, our target is very ambitious. That means we are looking at 500 to 600 community networks in the country, and I'm not saying that we will be the only one who will do it. I mean, many of us, our centers maybe Airjaldi can do it. I mean, many of these centers can be done by Nepal Wireless or you or whatever. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to us as long as this is being done in terms from with the light of community in focus, that's very important. And the last part is the challenge of making it a social enterprise with a sustainability. That's the last challenge that we are, I won't say we are facing, but we are getting into that in terms of, if we are spending in the total management and the backhaul fees and everything, let's say, about $2,000 a month, let's say, even if $2,000 a month or something, how do we procure $2,000 a month? Or for that matter, $2,000 a year, whatever it is. How do we manage from the community to contribute it, make it a social enterprise on a on a profitable basis, but community-driven profitable basis. And that is where maybe Nepal Wireless can contribute a lot, because unlike Airjaldi, who has got two bodies to deal with it, they have like integrated everything together. So that is where we can learn from what kind of content, what kind of services, what kind of educational content can be integrated into the entire network to make it holistic in terms of development, holistic in terms of enterprise, holistic in terms of sustainability. So these are the 5, I would say, the challenges that we have learned that we are facing or we will be facing, which we would like to address here. But to tell you, if in the hierarchy, maximum time we should spend here from all of you is technological aspect, and the second priority is regulatory. Those are the priorities, and third is sustainability and content and services. That's how I will give the priority in terms of the spending of time, 1.5 days that we are going to spend here to learn from each other. So those are some of the background and the learning from the past network. This next aspect is Guna. Guna is a district in Madhya Pradesh. You can all look at in your computer if you type Guna and look at the map where it is. It is not highly populated area. It is a small district, and it has got significant tribal population. And one of the tasks of Ford Foundation and DEF working together, which I will highlight in the next 3-4 aspect, is that we have chosen Guna because it's tribal area. That is one of the focus area that we thought of. The second also, can we reach it easily from the point of view of advocacy and showcasing. That was also, to be very frank, as one of the criteria. Otherwise, we could have chosen Arunachal Pradesh in China border, but many of the people may not.
Which border?
Arunachal.
Which border?
Oh, which border? Whatever.
Bordering what place?
Tibet.
Thanks, sir. We'll get you later.
So we chose Guna because it's accessible. We can reach here in about 2 to 3 hours. 3 hours we can reach if you go by flight. If you go by road, it will be under 10 hours. We can. Amitabh, welcome. Thanks. So Guna is what we jointly agreed to select. We had a choice earlier in some tribal area in Odisha also, but but we thought this is better. And also this is a mix of plain and hill both, and
some Italian tourists got kidnapped in the Odisha area, and we were like, are you going to be able to showcase this? Are you going to be able to do this? No.
Yeah.
So there are challenges. It's not absolute community, in that sense. This is demonstration for policy, so we kind of needed to be a little bit more accessible. Our criteria is central tribal area. Central tribal region is the area we focus on, and plus urban poverty. So we have to make it in that region. That's why Jharkhand is in our discussions with Airjaldi and with and Madhya Pradesh.
And as it came out, Chanderi, where we have already been working, it's very close to Guna also. And after that is Baran, where we are already working. So in fact, after Guna getting ready, we will have a corridor of wireless network. The entire corridor of wireless network, all 3 districts, Ashoknagar, where Chanderi is district, and Guna district and Baran district. Baran, though in Rajasthan, they border with Madhya Pradesh, where this Guna district is. So we will have a corridor of wireless network. So this place is, one focus was this tribal, has to be disconnected mostly, and has to be remote. so that we have this maximum number of challenges to face. So as you can see, this is a tribal area, one of country's 250 most backward districts declared by the government because of the poverty. Scheduled caste population is 20% plus, scheduled tribe is 7%. The vulnerable and traditional resource poor family comprise 30%, literacy rate is 50%. And when you say this literacy in India is very ambiguous, the reason is that if you can sign your name, you are called literate. You know, if you can write your name, you are literate. Which I would say from functional literacy point of view, it will be much lesser than what it shows here. Male literacy is close to 48%, female literacy is only 36%, landless laborers are 13%, human resource development index below 50%, 50 at 0.47. So it fits in all the developmental challenges as far as the choice of the location is concerned. There are 4 components that this project has in terms of activity. Number 1, we must do a baseline. We have done a baseline, but we haven't analyzed the baseline because of the paucity of time, which we will be doing. But there is a broad outcome which, so baseline study is 1. Setting up an installation and management of wireless network is the second deliverable. The third is expert technical workshop, which is now. We are in the middle of this expert technical workshop that we are doing. This is one of the deliverables of this project. And the last, and the capacity building and training. Capacity building training, unlike in many other projects, in this case, more than half the training or more than 70% of the training are with the communities. It is not only train the trainers, it is not only expert people sitting and training each other, but even the user level. Because unless you do a lot of capacity building at the user level, the network usage cannot be intensified, it cannot be optimal.
This is in the community. All these workshops are capacity building of the community.
So we are not only targeting that the member of the community becomes a network manager and trained in technologically, but also they become the tool or the resource to train further, second layer, and then even the user community. For example, can you show some outline of the survey?
Also, we have an ethics workshop in terms of usage.
Yes. Yeah.
Ethics?
Yeah. Can you highlight that?
Ethics or epics?
Ethics.
Ethics. You thought Mahabharata epic or something?
With you, I never know. But ethics of usage or?
Ethics of what might you face? Now, we are providing you a tool in this community. You might never have used the internet. How are you to use it? I think that even though that's not content and the type of content is not our area of intervention, still you cannot provide a technology and expect people to participate and then give them no knowledge about what are some of the ethics, what do they run into. So part of that is built into it as a holistic system. So
we call it the Silicon Valley problem. Because we once said in one of our meetings that if our dream is to bring connectivity to the valleys of the Himalayas and we end up bringing the Silicon Valleys of Pamela Anderson to the Himalayas, then it's a big question if we've achieved a lot.
For us, because we come from a freedom of expression initiative, I don't care if it's Pamela Anderson. I care if they're violating 10,000, if they're not letting women watch. If they're not letting, you know what I mean? At some point, there's an ethics code. There are broadcast codes, there are internet codes, there are liabilities. So it's kind of a brief to the community about what would happen to you if you did all these things and So at some point, I'm not telling people to watch porn or not to watch. That's not my mandate. My mandate is it's freedom of expression. They do it within acceptable limits so that it doesn't get them into trouble.
So more of a driving license.
It's a license. It's right.
Driving license.
I'm not saying where to go with it, where to take the car, yeah.
I think just telling what are the good things and bad things available in the internet, just to make them aware of the things that are available through the internet or something like that.
But if you're blogging, what could be your problems? If you're uploading content, what could be some of the problems you face?
Especially like for the young children, who will use Facebook, what to go aware of it, things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to point out, that we apart from developing the code of ethics, we will also develop booklets or something like that of what internet is all about, what will you get from the internet, if you use email, how do you do this, Facebook, all those things, which basically is largely, what I would say is the 5-10 things that internet is when they access to internet, what are the things they will look for and what it means for them. So that can be made available, and I think that's a good thing that we can, because we are quite good in terms of developing all these content in one place in local language. So this is the broad. Vijay, कितने block हैं वहाँ पे total? 5. Total 5 हैं. So this how we will define block? Block is Ravina. Block is defined in India as what?
A sesame. The old
for people like Steve to understand.
The khand.
So block consists of about 30 village councils, 30 to 40 village councils, and each village council consists of 2 to 3 villages. Okay, and sometime one village council is so big that there is no further village into this. They are themselves village and panchayat themselves. So typically in an area like Guna, where we are going to work, one block will consist of 25 to 30 panchayat. 20 to 30 panchayat, and you can multiply that by 2 in terms of number of villages. So we made sure that we go to each and every of those 5 blocks, 16 villages based on 3 categories: overall data collection survey, organizational survey, and home survey. So we have got fairly good number of, and we have covered 160 homes, 60 organization, and data collection from 50 in terms of group discussion based data collection. That's broadly what we have covered so far. But as I said, we haven't really analyzed each and every questionnaire that we have made. But broad outcome is, we asked Vijay to just lay the broad learning, because he was there in all the villages. And he said that most of the people do not know, do not have knowledge of even internet, what internet is all about. So you can already see that, I mean, how can you imagine even that access rights or media rights or all those things. Majority number of people said they don't know about computer. People who have knowledge of internet but they don't have computers, so they can't use it. Majority of youth population is using internet for downloading music or photographs or to see exam results. Some of them said they don't need internet facility for their livelihoods. Majority of youth population recommended that they want to receive this facility on their mobile as they don't have computer at home. Now that's very interesting, in terms of, because most of them have got mobile. Mobile penetration has become very high, and music and entertainment has become one of the first things that they would like to access. So they are saying that if we get internet on our mobile itself, it will be much more helpful than buying a costly device like computer or something like that. So one of our plan is to be present in all blocks, which is small centers of access when we go there in terms of deployment. Electricity is a serious issue, but the good news is that our partner locally there, their center itself is all solar empowered, all solar enabled. So we just have to make the cost calculation. We would be going for making each one of the node points and the access points solar enabled. Some of the people said internet facility has been provided to them. They are ready to gain the knowledge of computer internet. Government people have been, there are more I think, next. No, there was more I remember yesterday I was reading. Huh? Like I remember government officials who have office, they're saying that they access internet only through the office whenever they are in office. And not many things are allowed to them to see because they have to work. But home access is absolutely negligible in all the places. And then of course there are lots of photographs. So just to close this session from my side, we are looking at this technical session where we learn all the technology. By tomorrow, we should be on a drawing table to see what kind of technology we can deploy there with the help of this team here, the experts and the technologists and all the experienced people. That's broadly we are looking at by tomorrow. Today we are going to be listening to all three of you in terms of your challenges, your learnings, your technology, your suggestions, all those things, you know. Afternoon we will leave to lots of discussion and question and answer, which I would encourage my team to put together all the questions to ask you, and you ask to each other, which becomes a passive learning for us. And by tomorrow we can then share what is the coordinates, what are the area details that we have, and tell you, and maybe we can design some kind of network and, you know, put together some kind of checklist of equipments, you know, what should be good for them by having more and more deeper knowledge through Shahid and Vijay and others. So just last few words. Baseline, as I showed to you, one of the deliverables. The second is this expert technology meeting. The third is going to the field and deployment. And the fourth part is huge amount of capacity building and TOTs. And the fifth and the last part, as a deliverable which will continue next 2 years, is public engagement. So whatever we learn from you, whatever we do in the field, whatever documentation we do a public engagement where we call the government, policy makers, technology experts, you know, other pressure groups and all that, and the community together in one platform and share the experience, and also create an advocacy platform and talk about how we have deployed it. And of course we will use those, making videos, making documentation, case studies, all those things will continue. In the next 1 year, we will be visiting all your places. We will see which is the biggest deployment of perhaps Vinesh Telco, and we will go and see on the ground. We will go to Nepal Wireless. We will go to Air Jaldi. I have personally been to Air Jaldi and spent a lot of time. But I want my technology team and the deployment team to go and spend time with them. So, like you said yesterday, the biggest thing that we should also come out of this meeting is to collaborate each other. You know, we are absolutely, Ravina is very sure about it, that we should work together, because it's cause-worthy, it's absolutely helpful to each other, and there is no competition scope here in this. There is only collaboration opportunities here. So we should certainly work together, and we should meet again and again. So I will. One
more thing, Osama, you said 2 years. You meant like the network is to be open for 5 years, right? You're going to maintain.
No, yeah. So 2 years is, next 2 years is what I'm saying is that we have an assurance from Ford Foundation for the support. But she also knows that we have told that we will not let network down after the, you know, Ford Foundation.
We have a contract for 5 years.
Yeah, we have. She has assurance from our side that 5 years will be running. But to be very frank, it will always be running. It will always be running as a community network. One of the biggest policy of DEF is that we do not touch any project which is totally rely on funding. You know, we always take it with conviction that it is a long-term thing, and we should always be, you know, working on it. And she is not the only one. Even Amitabh, who is here, can vouch for it. He has been associated with us. So I'll just, before we go for a tea break, I'll introduce Amitabh here, who will introduce himself.
First of all, my apologies coming in late on the other side of the rains. Okay, I've missed out most of the part of the morning discussion, so I really don't know what went on.
Just introduce yourself.
Okay. Amitabh Singhal, I run a small consulting firm. I'm on the governing council of DE officer for some time, and I was instrumental in setting up the ISP Association of India, developed by privatization course in 1998. So I ran the Internet Industry Association till about 2006. So most of the policy and regulatory work that was done on the internet in India, I was involved on various committees of the government and the industry as well. Of course, fighting with the government, breaking down the monopoly structures, bringing down the cost of bandwidth, opening up gateways. So all that work was done by us. So that was my level of involvement with the internet. Then I helped set up a company called Nexi. I don't know if anyone has heard of Nexi.
Yes.
Nexi, NISI. So that was a company that
National Internet Exchange,
which also does .in domain name. So that's a company that I helped set up in 2003 with the Department of IT. I was a public-private partnership. It's a successful company now, mostly run by the government, unfortunately. So I was there running the company as a CEO till about 2006 again. And this is all voluntary work for me because I used to work for a company for my living as well. So there were 3 jobs that I was holding at a certain point of time. Okay. Then 2006 I branched out on my own, became a consultant. So I do consultancy work on policy and regulatory stuff for many companies, including telcos and ISPs. Currently I also sit on the board of .org. This is a company called PIR, Public Interest Registry. This is one of the only companies which is a non-profit public interest registry running .org domain name. This is the 3rd largest domain name of .com and .net. So it's based in Western Virginia. It's a non-profit again. So I have a history of doing non-profit work. So that's the essence of what I've been doing. So coming back, that's my introduction, and a few things that I otherwise I won't go into procedures. I've been trying to learn a lot from DEF in Osama about the kind of work that they're doing. That excites me and interests me because we are touching those people where the internet has not really gone. Okay, and that work really excites me, and that's the reason why I messaged with them. So learning about what they've done in the past and then trying to take it forward in a more structured manner. So DEF has grown in the last 10 years. So one of the things that I've discussed with Osama is to help Osama and his team to grow DEF and its nature of work in a more structured manner, better governance and those kind of things. So that's what I will be concentrating on. So that's one part, and the other is, of course, there are a couple of things that I heard is about ethics. Was the first thing that came up being talked about, and we heard a question on ethics about what we will cover. I think this is an ongoing debate which has been with us for a long time about the fact that most people do not realize when they use internet as what their obligations are. One is talking about rights, but obligations of being a user is not really known to people. And that's something which is very, very important these days, considering that we have a lot of discussions on, or debates on IPR issues, on defamation, on, So a lot of people think when you're on the blog, you can write anything and get away with it. It's all immune to being probed by people. That's not the case. We have laws which are at work. So if you do or write something when you're on the net or you upload content or whatever you do, you're liable. So that is one of the things that we need to also sensitize people about as to what their obligations can be in terms of the law that exists. So there are laws related to obscenity, there are laws related to anti-national activities on the internet. So people must know about that. Even one small word that I put across on the net and is picked up by some agency, for example, can lead to a lot of trouble. Okay, so that's one of the sensitive areas that we need to make people aware about. So I think that is what we were trying to, and it's a large subject, it's not a small subject by any matter. So it actually gets into a bigger debate about public good and public policies. Okay, and we have this ongoing debate again between the public and the government as well. So each topic that you pick up on the internet has its own big long history about what it is about and what it is going to shape up like. So government is involved, the industry is involved, individual users and NGOs are involved, communities are involved, and they need to know everything. So we are trying to make it more comprehensive in terms of not just providing access, but what to do with that access. And not just in terms of livelihood, development, opportunities and education of health, but use it responsibly. Okay, so that's what the ethics thing was probably about, so we'll go deeper into the thing once we move forward. The other thing was about sustainability. That's again a favorite thing of mine in the sense that I think as DEF, my proud of one fact is that they never abandoned a project. In fact, when I came on the governing council, I questioned about the fact that we were probably trying to carry some projects from the past, which no one was yet, which was not being funded now. Okay, the funding had stopped, but DEF has taken it as a responsibility to carry out the project from its own internal funds. That is one thing which is a good thing, in a way that a project taken up will not be abandoned, they will be supported. But at the same time, I think it's also a responsibility for all the partners to make sure that we make it sustainable enough in terms of the economics of this project. And that's very, very critical because, many times one of the concerns that we have had in the industry is a lot of good projects have been taken up, funded by some organization or the other, but they normally never get scaled. Okay, so one of the efforts and one of the objectives behind this would be to use this as a model to scale up further, take learnings from a project which is successfully implemented to replicate it in many other places. We have more than 4,500 districts in this country, and most of the districts have no access. I mean, we visited Kandhamal together, we visited some other interior parts. people are aware to some extent, but they don't have the facility. So one of the things that we are looking at is give them access and press it forward. So that's one thing that we are going to be looking at. So I guess broadly that is what our aim is at the moment, and then I'll get into discussion on anything that I can contribute on. Any specific questions you may have, you can ask.
Only after tea.
After tea? Okay. Maybe I'll have a better voice.
Amitabh is a great asset in terms of the telco background, the telecom background. So for all of us, I would say that we can exploit him extensively, not only by DA but by as Public Interest Registry as the name of the company, which is an ISOC company. He's on their board, so he has been able to also link us with PIR, and we do a huge project with PIR as well. So he is inside and outside both connected, and the reason why I invited him here is to take advantage of his presence whenever we are discussing about issues like spectrum or telecom issues and all that. Maybe he can give his, what we call as gyan. Okay, so thank you very much for your patience for the first session. The second session we will start, post-tea we will start with all three of you, and maybe even Shahid at the end of all of you. He can also share his experience. And then after lunch we will get into a huge amount of discussion. I will become more like a rapporteur when you guys are going to make presentation in terms of filling all the blank charts with lots of points that you are going to make. So don't hesitate in terms of taking a lot of time. We are in no hurry. We can go late in the evening also and keep on discussing. But we want to learn hugely from each one of you. That's the target. And irrespective of what we have been expecting from you, you can go deeper into any area that you think is relevant through the presentation that I made in terms of what we need to learn also. Thank you very much. Let's have a cup of tea. Tea is outside. So let's have a cup of tea.